Hello, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to another Art for All group with St Christopher's Hospice. My name is Lucy, I'm a creative artist, and normally, outside of social distancing and lockdown, I would be facilitating an Art for All group every Tuesday afternoon. But until everybody's allowed back into the hospice as normal, I'm going to be doing the group on YouTube. So today, I've been experimenting a little bit with doing salt painting. Some of you might have done this when you were younger. I'd actually never done this before, so this is new to me. So you'll be watching as I have a go. So what I've done thus far is I drew out a very simple line drawing. I decided to do a fish, slightly looking like a Japanese koi carp, but we'll see how it actually looks in the end. So I did a line drawing and then I went over it with some glue. So I just used normal PVA glue with quite a narrow spout, and then I just drew over the very faint lines that I've drawn. And now what I'm going to do, you might have been able to see a little bit on there, is I'm dropping salt onto the glue. So it's making quite a nice sound. So I'm also doing this on a tray, and I'm sitting on the floor so that it doesn't go quite everywhere, and I've got a bit more control about where the salt is going. And I'm putting quite a thick layer of salt on, so I'm just using ordinary, cheap 25p a packet table salt, and I'm just sprinkling it on to all the glue that I've just put on the paper, and just making sure all of the glue is covered, trying not to get any on my carpet, but if I do, it's not going to cause any harm to anything and it can all be hoovered up. So that's what I'll be telling myself later. But yeah, you could do this on the table with a slightly bigger tray, and it's not going to be too messy. It's something you can do with children, but actually as an adult this is very fun to do. And when I actually add the colour, it should create a really nice effect. So I'm all done with the salt now, and what I've got is some liquid watercolours. You could actually use food colouring if you watered it down a little bit, and you can use a pipette for this, but I'm going to use a brush as I feel it gives me a little bit more control. Now I'm going to tip the salt off, tip a fair bit off. Now I have this, so it looks quite like, I'm going to put it on top of another piece of paper. So yeah, so it looks, see kind of the outline of the fish, and I've done some water lilies as well, so water lily pads. So now, the moment of truth, I've got some oranges for the fish and I've got some green for the water lily pads. So just going to check, and I'll give it a quick go off camera, and then I'll show you how it goes. So adding a bit now. Aha! So if I hold this up, I'll get a bit more. And when you add it to the salt, it travels quite a long way. So it moves through the salt to kind of spread out and blossom almost. So right in some of the salt I'm going to do. So now I'm running my brush line, you can see that it's absorbing into, I'm going to rinse my brush in between. You can see, and now I'm going to load my brush with quite a bit of watercolour, and you can see that it's absorbing into the salt in this raised pattern. So it's going quite quickly actually. So I'm going to do red for the spots of the fish, And I decided not to fill in big spaces because I kind of wanted it just to be like a line, just be a line drawing. So hold it up again. So here we go, you can see it kind of, yeah, it's like magic that it just goes through. And keep on with this colour. So it's very satisfying to do actually. And you could do just random patterns, or you could copy a picture. You could actually sort of just put the glue over a picture you already have, and just use that as a guide for where you want the colours to go. So you don't even actually have to draw your own picture. That's the beauty of this. You can really do what you want. So I'm going to put this down now and work a little bit more quickly now that I've got one hand free, so I can hopefully show you finished article in just a moment. So now I'm going to add a bit of darker orange, and yeah, so darker orange on the fish's fins. And I thought about doing kind of a blue background, but then I thought actually no, I just want to make it really, I want this to be really quite simple, but you could make this as complicated as you wanted. I think depending on how much glue and how much salt you have, you can make it really quite complex. So I'm going to do lots of orange in the fish's tail. Let it really kind of soak in. Trying not to drop it on the non-salty bit, but see how well I do at that. And you know what, it doesn't really matter if I do drop it on the bits where the salt isn't, because it's just playing and it's just seeing what happens, and it could make for a really interesting effect. I heard somebody once say that what we think are mistakes in our art are actually just our style, which I think is quite a nice way to think about it, and it always makes me feel better if I'm feeling a little bit kind of, I don't know, a little bit unhappy with something I've made. I'm just going to say, it's my style. That's what I'm working with. So now I'm going to go back in with the yellow, and then I'm going to really quickly do, oops, and I just dropped a bit of yellow on the page just there, but that's okay. I might do a couple of more little dots just to, and so it looks a bit like the fish is the fish has got sparkles now. So it's swimming in sparkly water thanks to my yellow splatter. But that's actually fine with me. I quite like the effect. It's I'm going to add a bit of yellow towards the end of the fish's tail so that it's got a bit more kind of variation of the splatter, but that's all right. Okay, nearly done. So I'm going to add a little bit of green to the water lilies. This should be quite quick actually because it's just the one line to do. So I'll do a lighter green. And I'll do that on all of the water lilies, just in different bits. A bit around here. And on the final water lily, and then I've just got one colour to go. So a bit more here, a bit more here. Okay, final colour. And to get to actually look at the art piece rather than watching me just doing something off screen. So yeah, here we go, nearly done. 2 more bits to go. Very nearly there. Okay, all done. So here is, and hopefully, actually I might hold it up. not just, I suddenly remembered that all the salt is underneath this, so I will hold it up. Okay, here we have a fish swimming, made out of salt and glue, and it's raised up, you can see. Yeah, fish swimming amongst some lily pads. So, love to see anything you make at home. Do have a go, it's really fun to do, and you could do whatever pattern you wanted. And as I said, trace over, if you have a colouring book that you really like, maybe trace over a bit of that, and you might want to do it actually in the colouring book, or it might make it a bit difficult to shut if you have thick glue on it, but just, yeah, any line picture that you want, you could do this yourself. So, all the very best until next week, and yeah, hope you have a lovely week. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.